So today we're going to talk about the latest addition to the gun collection here. You may think, well, this is a Sig P320. It is not. This is a Sig P250 Subcompact 40 caliber Generation 2. As you can see, the gun is empty. And empty. So this weapon was introduced around 2007. The last models of these were introduced in late 2009. In early 2014, the Sig P320 was introduced. As we know, that's a striker fired, which has the same modular format, the same modulars and magazines with the Generation 2, which uses the same Sig P320 magazines. Everything's compatible with the Sig P320 here, except for the slide and, of course, the firearm control unit, or fire control unit, which is double action only, as you can see here. Production ended of these in 2017. So the DEO trigger is a self-decocking DEO-style trigger system. So basically, it's a lot like a revolver. Unlike our third gens, which, take this down here real quick. It'll hurt myself. Unlike our third gens, which have the, with the third gen, it has to be recocked. There's no double strike capability. This is more like a traditional double action revolver where it has double strike capability. So it's self-decocking. How does this trigger feel, you may ask? Well, it feels like a much smoother version of your favorite double action only revolver. Very smooth. And you may ask, well, why double action only? Well, keep in mind, this came from a time when DASA was still a thing. And the goal was to kind of eliminate decockers and safeties off of these guns. Probably in more of an attempt to compete with Glock and be easier for shooters. Because remember, this gun came out in 2007. We're still, like, 1995 is the cusp I like to use when a lot of police departments went away from revolvers. So we're still about 5 years into the semi-auto type stuff, where police departments were carrying the Sig P Legacy series, the third gen. Some departments are carrying Berettas, some even H&Ks. And, of course, some are carrying Glocks. So we had a lot of stuff going on then. The magazine sizes. There's snap caps in here. For some reason, 40 caliber is a dark red. Almost maroon brown like. The magazine, I got 13 of 40 here, which will fit in the compact version of this. This is a Sig P320 magazine. It works fine with this module here. And with the spacer, the Sig P320 spacer, that is for the X grips. The spacer here, which is for a compact model, works great in the subcompact model. That's the only modification done to this. I did utilize the Pachmayr grip extenders. I'll post a picture of those. And it's a little more like how the third gen mags are on the Smith & Wesson side I like. I did this because I want a pinky extension because a little more recoil protection with the 40 caliber. The slide. This particular model, or wherever I bought here, did not come with night sights. At this point, this gun's from 2009-ish. I don't have the exact boron date. I'm just going with 2009-ish to 2017. Proprietary. You can't, unless you machine them or something, you can't remove them and put new sights on here. I'm fine with these kind of sights. They don't bother me. A nice big dot that you can see here. For whatever reason, it's not really covering the front very well. Could be the lighting in here. But these are basically white dot sights. So, difficulties with this gun. I really had a hard time acquiring holsters for this gun. None of my pre-existing stuff would fit this that I had on here for the holsters. I ended up using an old leather Sig P250R holster to hold it. Then I got this thing here. It's a picture. It's a paddle holster. There's very limited... You got different problems with this. First of all, this particular module has no rail. I don't really care for lights and rails on my guns, personal preference. However, I do believe if you're a police officer, you should have a light on your gun. And including appropriate optics, too. The thing is, there's different holsters for this. There's holsters without the rail. There's holsters with the rail. And there just isn't much availability to subcompact size. They try to force you to get a regular size holster. So you would end up having like a Sig P320 full-size holster with this, which is great. I mean, it'll work, but you don't want a Sig P320 full-size holster where you're carrying concealed because the bottom of the holster will extend beyond your shirt. Not that it really matters all that much. It's just, to me, it's just because I live in North Carolina and I don't really... Open carry is an acceptable thing here. I don't typically open carry, except for some rare circumstances in the wintertime and when I'm around here, around the house. But, so you would end up having to get a full-size holster for a subcompact gun. I even had trouble finding a holster for the compact gun. And then you get into different things, rails, no rails. What this basically does is this gun basically sits in here and, you know, in case it sits on the table at night, that kind of thing. And so there's compatibility of modules here. You can get, so the barrel's compatible. So you could get a Sig P320 barrel in 9mm compact or full size. You need a new slide, though, a P250 slide. A Sig P320 full-size module would work on this. You would have to get a full-size recoil, a new recoil spring and guide rod, though, the Sig P320 one. It's very expensive. You'd end up spending about the cost of the gun, which I think if the additional mag, holster, and all that stuff, I think it was around $450 or so, not including range, trip, and ammo. So... ideally, you'd be better off buying another gun instead of doing that. Because it's just so expensive. Anything of Sig is expensive, and just the way it is. This was probably the last of one of the Sigs to be done under what some of the anti-Sig people call the good Sig, the legacy Sig, whatever that means. There's different versions of Sig. There's Sig Sauer, there's Sig Arms, there's West Germany Sig, German-only West Germany Sig. There's West Germany Sig with New Hampshire parts. There's New Hampshire only. It goes on and on and on and on and on. You know, so it is what it is. I think the reason why it's hard to find subcompact modules for these is because of the popularity of the P365 and Sig XL series. So a lot of the subcompact modules have been discontinued. I don't plan to replace this module with anything. Maybe at some point I'll go up to a compact module. But it's like I said, to get a compact slide, and you get your barrel and your guide rod, and let's say we just reuse this mag. We have one mag. This is a compact mag. You just take the spacer off. You're going to end up spending at least probably $350 to $400. So you might as well just get a whole new gun at that point. So my opinions about this. Remember that the market for these were more law enforcement military. So subcompact modules probably weren't very popular at all. I'm guessing that most police departments ordered these, or even nowadays with the 320, I bet you they mostly order compact, full size and compact. So remember, this is a time in 2007, 2009-ish. P320 was introduced in 2014. So we could kind of say, just for our discussion, that 2014 is when this gun ended. And I think the reason why this wasn't so popular with Sig is because everybody, when this came out, they bitched about the double action trigger. Now, keep in mind, when this came out, we were at a time when the M&P came out, which made a bigger impact. But Smith & Wesson's first striker-fired pistol, which really a lot of the police departments got that back when that first came out. I think it was like 2008-ish, 2009-ish. Glock was also very popular. At the time, Sig, at this time, when this gun came out, the P250 series, which also had subcompact, compact, and full size. There was no striker-fired pistol in Sig's lineup at the time. I may be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure there wasn't. The DAK system came out, double action Kellerman, which basically is, I can't really demonstrate it here, but as you can see, this is empty still. There's nothing in here. So what double action Kellerman kind of was, I'm going to do this wrong, but you had your first pull, then you had like some reset that would put it in like some type of double action lighter pull, and then you had another reset, which would put it in like back, like decock it or something. It's really weird. I don't understand it. And there's a lot of those type of guns that are a little cheaper you can buy from Sig if you want a legacy one. I never understood the DAK system. I never fired a DAK system. To me, I either want double action or single double action. But apparently the U.S. Coast Guard, the GSA police, I call them the GSA police, but they're the what is called they're called the Homeland Security Police, but I'm not going to really downplay what they do. But the Homeland Security Police are basically campus police for federal buildings. These mags are compatible with 357 Sig. You just need to drop in a new barrel. Nobody really uses 357 Sig anymore as an agency anymore. North Carolina Highway Patrol probably was one of the last agencies to use it next to the feds, who recently went over to Glock 9mm and Sig P320 9mm, depending on the agency. And those agencies no longer use 357, so North Carolina Highway Patrol stopped using 357 because there's availability problems in getting it. I'm not going to debate the ballistics of the round. That's just a fact. I particularly think that when you're giving guns out to people, like in the police, in the military, or whatever, that it should be as simple to use as possible. Either DAO or striker fired for the average patrolman. One of the reasons why this wasn't popular was because people at the time around, I'd say 08, 09, 2014-ish, people in law enforcement were getting younger. The Vietnam vet era guys were retiring. A lot of people were retiring. Some of the 80s cops were retiring. A lot of cops that carried revolvers and were used to DAO or double action, single action, and were retiring. A lot more departments are going towards striker fired, and a lot more people that were in the guns grew up with striker fired stuff. So you have younger people making decisions now. I personally think that a striker fired handgun, I don't really like them personally, but I think in the hands of a police officer who's trained and is appropriate on the weapon, they're good. And my thoughts is this: what Sig should have done, because yes, they got the Homeland Security contract. And yes, some other agencies did carry DAK. My thoughts about this is if the Sig never came out with a DAK and pushed this P250 platform instead, let's pretend the DAK platform never came out. It just never came out, and we're a police agency transitioning from the Sig P226 or Sig P Legacy series, a DASA gun to something that's DAO. We want somebody to just hand a police officer or whoever and just go like this. No weird reset points, none of that weird stuff. If they never came out with a DAK system and they had this, I think we would have saw. I think this would have been the good go between DASA, DAO, and striker fired. I do, however, think, though, that the Sig P320 series will still have eventually came out. Whether or not it have problems or not, who knows? But I think that this would have sold a lot better, because this was kind of like a secret. This wasn't really like a big thing that Sig was pushing at the time until the 320 series came out. This could easily be concealed. It's kind of like a cross between a little bit of a Sig P365, more so on the XL side. A little bit of a cross between, it reminds me of a Sig P239. Not so much the Sig P229, it's a little bit bigger. The barrel on this is 3.5 inches, which I think is a very good barrel length to have. I'd like to give an approach on my opinion about this, and would I buy this gun? Would I recommend it to somebody? Yes. If you're into double action only stuff, revolver type triggers, DASA type things, yes, I would buy this gun. If you're looking for something that's going to be equivalent to the P320 series or a Glock, this gun is not for you. It is a very good modern rendition of the, if you want to look at it this way, the Smith & Wesson 3rd Gen series, the double action only, in the sense that it's lighter. It has double strike capability. It has a removable fire control unit. And has some support still with modules and barrels and guide rods and magazines off of the Sig P320 series. And that's all for the video. Sorry for the and all that stuff, but just the way I talk. And figured I'd share this with you all. Hopefully you